Hello, Mr. Natural here. How are you from Mr. Natural's Music School? Well, we're going to look at what happens when we've been looking at the intervals within one octave. But what happens is because there are 7 notes here, which is an odd number, when we extend past an octave, everything switches. We've been talking about if 1 is on a line, then 3, 5, and 7 will be on a line. But then the next space above that is going to wind up being 1 again. So now on spaces will be the numbers 1, 3, 5, and 7. And if we take the 1 which is on the line at the bottom and go to the next interval below it, that's the number 7. So again, the odd numbers will switch to the spaces. So if we are looking at intervals over a 3-octave range, if 1 is on a line, only the middle odd numbers will be on lines. All the odd numbers will be on spaces below, and all the odd numbers will be on spaces above. So let's take a look and see what happens as these patterns develop. First of all, if this line here is the number 1, then this line here becomes the number 3, and that line there is the number 5, and this line here is the number 7. And that's good enough for reading. Most music happens between 1 and 1. Now a lot of music, like Christmas carols for instance, they like to go from the number 5 past 1 up to 5. And when that happens, you're going to get these things shifting around. So let's see what happens. If suddenly the number 1 moves over from here, 7 to 1, then 3, 5, 7. So now this is 1, 3, 5, and 7. And you can see what happens here is then the next number 1 is going to go right back to a line again. And 1, 3, extending up 5, and 7 will happen. Now going below, let's see what happens. If this is 1, then right here is 7. So if this is 7, the odd number 7, then this is 5, then this space here becomes 3, and this space here becomes the number 1. And if we go below that, what happens is this line here now becomes the number 7, and there is a 5, and here is a 3, and then the ledger line below becomes a 1. So you can see it goes lines, spaces, lines, spaces, lines. If 1 starts on a line down here, then when it gets here it becomes a space, and all the spaces become odd numbers. Then when it gets here, it goes back to a line. Then it continues up and goes to the space, and continues up and goes to the line. So the number 1 goes line, space, line, space, line. So it actually takes 2 octaves here for the number 1 to go from here, a space, to a line, back to a space again, or 2 octaves here to go from a line to a space, back to a line again. Now let's look and see what happens with even numbers. Over here, if this is 2, this is 4, and this becomes 6, and then what happens is here becomes 1. So then, if that's 1, then the next line becomes a 2, a 4, and a 6. And then what happens is this becomes a 1. So then it goes back to 2, 4, 6. And you can see this goes in the opposite direction as well. 7, this would become the 6 is on a space here. So 1, 2, 6 then goes on a line, 4 on a line, 2 on a line. And then what happens is it moves over again back to the 2, 1, 7, here's 6, here's 4, and here's 2. So you can see it's going spaces, lines, spaces, lines, spaces. So that's something to watch out for. Now, however, if you take the grandest possible look, and you say to yourself, I only want to see the numbers that are on the lines, and only the lines. Let's say we start with the very, very, very bottom number here as the number 1. Then this is 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 4, 6, 1, 3, 5. And what happens here is a pattern develops which I call the circle of thirds. The circle of thirds is basically the spelling for every chord that we have in the system. 1, 3, 5 spells a chord. 2, 4, 6 spells a chord. 3, 5, 7 spells a chord. 5, 7, 2 spells a chord. Since chords are stacked in thirds, or go from line to line to line, or space to space to space, unless they're inverted, then what happens is this pattern occurs over and over and over again. 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6. First the 4 odd numbers, then the 3 even numbers, then the 4 odd numbers, 3 even, and you can see this is yin-yang. There's an even number of odds and an odd number of evens. And this continues all the way on up through the thing. So I like to think of this as a circle. 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6. And if I'm building chords, I'm rotating this way. And if I'm going down, line to line to line to line to line, I'm rotating in the opposite direction. 1, 6, 4, 2, 7, 5, 3, 1, 6, 4, 2, 7, 5, 3. I have this pattern in my mind that I use when I read by number, because that pattern is universal. And by the way, in between that pattern, if these are all lines, right here, this starts then with the number 2. And we have 2, 4, 6, 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, etc. So the pattern 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, or backwards 1, 6, 4, 2, 7, 5, 3, 1 spells all the chords, gives us every line or every space. And by memorizing that pattern, I can use that to guess what all the lines are, and then the spaces would be, of course, the opposite. And this simplification really, really aids in reading by number. Till next time.